Hi, I'm Susan, and today I did a special video, an artist collaboration on this beautiful butterfly brooch. It's made with resin beads from Allison of Thinking Outside the Box. She created the beads and I created the brooch. So if you want to see how I put this all together, just keep watching. I've just received these beautiful butterfly wings from Allison from Thinking Outside the Box, and she does a lot of resin work with polymer clay and other things. I'm not really big on resin, but her work is really spectacular. She's got this iridescent kind of like a mica kind of look to these, and these are glittery and sparkly. And here she's got some larger, chunkier glitter. Well, I've got to start out with one, and then I'll basically do the other technique, the same technique over off the camera so that you can see what different things look like. I think I'm going to work with this blue iridescent one because this one's really, really talking to me. Type of pieces. I'm going to use this in bead embroidery, and it's just a matter of deciding how I want to use these wings or pieces and how I want to set them. Now my inspiration for these pieces is bead embroidery, and as you can see the iridescent, I don't know whether Allison uses mica powders or what she uses, but it's quite beautiful underneath here with the colors that are really vibrant. So I've picked something that's kind of similar in my rhinestones, and I'm going to outline these with some beads just to give them a little extra pop and make them into either a brooch or a necklace. I haven't decided, but that will talk to me. Now, how are we going to lay down these pieces? I normally would glue them down and bead around them. I think that that will take too much of the design away. So instead, I'm going to add some holes. And you're probably going to say, oh no, what is she going to do? I think where these dots are, it would make a perfect hole that we could use a little bead inside of that and make that more of a highlight. And I'm going to do some holes just here so that I can add some beads that will tuck these down nice and tight, and I will do some in the corners here. So I will go drill these holes and come back and we will start to sew this all together. So I have some holes drilled in these. I'm not sure if you can see them very well. Here at the end, here in the middle, and up here at the top. I'm afraid to glue these. I don't know how the glue will react. Sometimes with resin and other things, E6000 can start to eat away at this. And there's so much beauty and so much work in this. I don't want to see anything happen. So I'm going to start by sewing my rhinestones on. I think that would be the base, and that would make it a lot easier. I'm using 9mo size B thread, a size 10 beading needle, and I am just going to start by putting this rhinestone right in the center here. There's a little casing on it that shows there's two little holes, and I will be sewing it on basically like a button. And as you can see, the bottom of the round rhinestone is once again like a button with 4 holes in it. So I'm just going to go across those holes and make sure that I put it right above that other rhinestone so that I have it looking like the body of a butterfly. Now to add the wings, I'm going to add them one at a time. I have 3 holes, one here, one in this circle here, and one down at the point. I'm going to use a size 15 seed bead, and I'm just using that to lock this butterfly wing in so that it holds it in place. I'm afraid to use glue, that it may affect the actual resin in the wing or any of the treatments in it. And so I'm just going to use stitches instead, and this will hold it down just fine. This is not going to get a lot of pull on it. It will be on this felt, so it will stay just fine without any worries. And I'm just going through that little hole right in there. And you probably can't even see this once it's on camera very much. You can see where I'm doing it, but once it's down, and I'm using this white thread for well, light blue thread for contrast. Normally I would use black thread so you wouldn't see it at all. And now I will add the other wing at the bottom here. And it also, you can see the 3 holes that I've put in it. I will just go through those and add it that way. Now I will continue to add the other wings the exact same way, and I will then go through and reinforce them once again all the way around so that I know they're nice and tight. But you can see how you barely notice those little beads in there. Now I've reinforced all around the butterfly so it's nice and tight and these wings aren't going to move anywhere. So I'm going to do some bead embroidery around the body here, and it looks very complicated, but it's actually simple. I'm adding 4 beads at a time. And I'm just, you can add any size bead technically. And I'm just going to follow the line around the body. I want to define the body a little bit more, and I want to add this other brass tone. There's a lot going on here. So I want to kind of tone it down a little bit actually. And accent that beautiful body on the butterfly. Now I go back up through the middle bead, which is, since we're putting 4 beads on, I'm going through the middle, which is right between the 2 beads. And then I'm going through the last 2. And you can add any amount of beads you'd like. I never do more than 4. I usually do 4 or less. And just continue to make a trail exactly where you want those beads to go. Here I'll add 3. And I'm just going to continue following around this rhinestone because I really want to accent that as the body. And so I'm just going to continue going around everything here until I get that design that just talks to me. Now, I'm all about contrasting colors, and there's some nice green in here. So rather than adding blue to this, which I think will just blend together, I'm going to outline this in this beautiful olivey green because there's the smallest amount here, and there's a little bit of green in this rhinestone, which will complement it. So we're going to see how this pops. Going all around the wings of the butterfly, I'm going to add 4 beads at a time, just outlining this and giving it a little bit more definition. I feel like this blue just blends in with the black too much, and I want to pop some of that green. Now you can already start to see how this blue is really popping with that green around it, and how that green is trailing through and complementing the other colors. So I'm going to continue adding the green to this whole thing. You're not going to want to watch that. It's like watching paint dry. But you will see when I'm done how this really pops this butterfly and pulls it more together, because at this point, it just looks like some pieces I've put down on a black piece of felt, which is basically what it is. Now is the time we have to make this all come together. And now you can see the difference when I've completely outlined one side versus the other, how that really pulls things together and pulls the colors together in your eyes. So I'm just going to continue around the other side. Now I have all the green beads all around here, all those seed beads. I have double reinforced all the wings so they're nice and tight, nothing's moving. It is time to cut this. I'm going to cut this out completely using a scissor, and you have to be very careful when you cut this that you don't cut any of these threads in the back. Now normally you wouldn't even see these threads because they would be black, but I did them in light blue so that you could see what I was doing. But you're going to have to leave a little bit of an outline so that you don't get these little stitches. So just be very patient and leave that nice little edge so that you'll have something to attach the other piece of fabric and some beads to. And there we go, we have it all trimmed out. You can see how much nicer that looks. Now, in order to add these little antennae, I was going to put beads on them, but I think I really like them just the way they are. I really don't think I want beads on them. I have to bend the ends in order to add them. Now to bend the end, I'm just creating a little wire loop, and that will be easy enough to sew down inside of this piece. Now you don't necessarily have to wrap it, you could leave it like that, but I'm going to wrap it once around. And I'm not going to cut that wire off at the end. I want that wire on the end so that I have something to sew down. And I'm going to do that in the exact same spot with the other one so that I have them the same size. And now I want to just sew these in so I know exactly where they'll be. But before I do that, I have to measure the backing fabric that I will be putting on here, because it will be too hard to go around this once I've added this. But you can see on the other side, and you can bend these, how cute that will be with the little antennae sticking out so delicate and light. Now I do have a piece of light blue ultra suede. I normally would use a piece of black ultra suede so that you wouldn't see this at all, but then I'm afraid you won't be able to see it on camera. So I'm going to instead use the light blue just for you guys. And I'm taking a magic marker and just gently outlining around this, so I know exactly where the pattern is to cut. around my butterfly, because I'm afraid that once I get those little antennae in, I won't be able to see what this exact pattern is. I normally prefer to glue this on and just cut around it, but this may be too difficult. So now I have the perfect pattern, and I just have to cut inside the lines and it will match up perfectly. Now before I add my ultra suede backing, I want to add my little antennae. And you probably wondered why I left that little piece there. It's just easier to sew this in with that loop and that little cross that you have in there. So I'm crossing over that little bar there with a stitch, and I'm coming through that little loop. And this is a little fidgety until you pull it tight. Pull it tight till you make sure you get that little bar crossed over. There we go. Now I'm just making a little stitch on the other side. I'm trying to make an X coming out of this little loop here. These antennae are not cooperative, but they're worth it. They really will make the piece. And then I'm just going across, holding that piece in place. Now when I flip this over, you will understand exactly why this piece is so important to me. Because look at how cute that is with that natural little delicate antennae. Now I'm going to add the other one exactly the same way. And I'm just going through, as you can see, I'm working with this light blue thread, so you can see everything I'm doing. There's no hiding my stitches. And going in between the beads here, you don't even notice it. So I'm just going to now add the other one on the other side. And you can see how cute that looks. Now, just time to add our backing. And like I said, I would normally use a black backing, but because you won't see it, I'm going to cut around this beautiful little blue backing. It's actually a really pretty color. This is ultra suede, and you can use any type of fabric to back this, just a fabric that doesn't fray. And the beauty of ultra suede is it doesn't fray and it stays perfect. You can see that will fit right over that perfectly. But I've decided to make a brooch out of this, and we need to put our pin back on here before we can apply this. Now to install my pin back, I want my pin, and make sure I've got it the right side up, because this will be the side that has the clasp in it. This is the inside of the fabric piece, and I am just making a few dots, and I'm going to cut just a little slit in each side here so that I can get the fabric from this. My cuts will be there to there, and I will have the fabric here where I will sew it. Just going to make a little slit here and a little slit here. I don't know if I made enough here. And now I can just take my pin back and install it through the holes. It will just pop right through. And you want to make sure you have the whole mechanism popped through so that this will lay nice and flat. Otherwise, it will not lay flat on your piece. You'll have a buckle here, and you'll be very sorry that you can't fix that once it's already on. Now I have a needle and thread, once again, with some Nymo. And I am just going to literally sew this on so that it's very secure on here. And it's just basically going back and forth, restitching around the bar. And you're just stitching back and forth through these holes. So as you can see, I have 2 stitches there, and I'm going back and forth through this hole, just reinforcing that so that it's nice and sturdy. And I will go down all 3 of these holes, completely reinforcing this, and come back. Now this is the inside of the piece, and you can see I've got that thoroughly secured. And on the outside, I'm going to put this filigree piece. Now this filigree piece will do 2 things. Number 1, it will stiffen up right where the wings and all of this spot right here where it's kind of soft and bendable. This will stiffen it up and make it not bendable. It'll be nice and tight. And the other thing is, it will also reinforce that pin back that's there. So all I'm going to do is put a few little lock stitches to keep this down, and this will change the entire flexibility of my piece. Now you can buy these filigree pieces on eBay, AliExpress. I think Wish may have them. A lot of the Chinese companies have them, and I buy them in all different sizes just for reinforcing things like this. And they really do look a lot prettier with that little bit of reinforcement in the back also. So just a few little tiny stitches will hold this together and really switch this up. And now I won't have to worry about this being soft or being unfinished on the back. And those little stitches that I put in there, you won't even see them with the filigree. As you can tell, everything's starting to disappear here. So I am going to just continue sewing this filigree on and come back. I have my filigree completely sewn on and my pin back on, and now it's just a matter of attaching it to the butterfly main base. And I'm just going to use a little bit of E6000, which will just adhere this in the center for me so I don't have to worry about having any bubbles or anything. You don't need a whole lot of this, just a little bit goes a long way. And then I'm just going to bead around the edges, which will attach this all together and make it very seamless. Now don't worry about these little guys, the antenna, they will straighten out as you're adding your beads. Now to add my beads, I have to come up. I'm still in the center here where I was adding the antennae. So I have to come up through this fabric on the edge. And I'm basically going to make a little sandwich as tight as I can get it. And I'm going to take one of my size 11 seed beads. This is a brass one, any color will do. And I'm going to go through the felt and the ultra suede fabric at the same time. And I'm going to try to get in this corner here just because it's a little tight. And I'm going to go through both pieces of fabric. And you'll see that bead pop up. I'm going to go through the bottom of that bead. And that will make it actually stand up. So I'm taking another size 11 seed bead. I'm going through both pieces of fabric, just the distance of that size 11 seed bead. And I'm basically doing this stitch completely around the butterfly. This is the first brooch that we created together with the little head pin antennae that just looks so precious, and you can see the iridescence in these beads as you move. So you can imagine this on a body, how much you would see just moving around, how this will catch your eye. Here's the one with the glitter, and you can see how that one just really sparkles. I used some tiny crystals on the antennae on this one just to switch it up, show you some different ideas. And here's the final one that I used the seed beads to create the antennae and made it seamless with the piece so that you don't have to worry if it will catch onto things. If you have long hair, the antennae might catch on that. So I thought this would be a nice alternative, and I filled this little black area in with some black seed beads, the same as I outlined the butterfly. And if you love these pieces, you can learn how to create all these beads at Allison's channel, Thinking Outside the Box. I hope you enjoyed that, and thanks so much for watching.